I think a lot of cis people, when they think of trans women. The you know what I mean? Like when you talk about trans, I feel like people just instantly just attack trans women. And you're like, yo, like trans is so fluid. It looks so different that there is just not one look. And like, yeah, like people, if they know, like they find out that I'm trans, they're like, holy shit. I wouldn't have even been able to tell. I'm like, no one would. You know what I mean? But that is like people's perspective of trans needs to look and be a certain way. Where it's like, yo, we exist and we're around you guys all the time. You guys just don't know.
Insecure.
When did you start going through your transition?
So I've been transitioning for 5 years now.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
And
good solid 5 years.
How'd you start? Like, what did you start taking any hormones, or was it any injections?
Man, like usually with that thing, like I mean, it's getting better now. But back when 5 years ago, when I started transitioning, you had to go through this little program and do these little things, see a couple of people, and then get accepted for that basically. So that was my process. I had to be in a program. It was called Gender Journeys. Did that for I feel like 6 months, and after that I was taking hormones. So.
And how did it affect you when you first started?
How did the hormones affect me?
Yeah,
that's like such a loaded question, man. Besides the physical, like I feel like the biggest part of transition that I feel like people forget is that just like the emotional and the mental aspect of going on testosterone is one of the hardest things that you end up dealing with, you know what I mean?
How was it hard? Like in what ways?
You start taking these hormones, you're super happy about it, everything's cool. Once you start passing in society, there's a lot of changes that people don't really acknowledge because a lot of people I feel like don't really realize that there is like different ways that we are brought up. Like women are raised in different ways than males are. So growing up in a female body, the way that I was socially raised wasn't in a male's body. So I had to relearn my whole self. Like I had to, get to know who I was. I had to figure out what my masculine looked like. Like who was I gonna check for? Who was I gonna follow? Like, you know what I mean? Like we all take from different people in terms of ourselves and what we like and what we don't like. And that was like the hardest part, is like, who do I look at when I start transitioning? Who's gonna be the role model for me? And I also grew up in a home that, without a father, so I didn't have that father role model. So I was kind of just like floating around, man, just trying to figure that shit out.
Yeah, and how did your family react to it when you first started?
Man, my family took it really hard at first. Really, really hard, extremely hard. I actually moved out of my house around 15. So when I started transitioning, I wasn't at home. But it was probably maybe like 4 or 6 months where I did reconnect with like my mom and my fam. And they heard from rumors on Facebook and stuff like that. So I didn't get the chance to really tell them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was pretty hard, man. It's been a rough 2 years. Well, in my transition in terms of like family. Right now they've come through with it. I feel like I have way more of a deeper connection with my family than I ever have had in my life now, more than ever.
Out of all the family bonds that might have been broken from like people find out about it, which one do you think hurt you the most?
Probably my mom, because I've been raised with my mom. I was like an only child for a very long time, so that relationship was the relationship that I did look up to the most, and so when I was transitioning and she wasn't accepting of that, and even before transitioning, dude, man, like I feel like she subconsciously could tell that like I wasn't like the norm of like what a female would be. So she was already pretty like upset about that, and like maybe not mostly upset about her feelings about it. It was just what everyone else was gonna think and how she might look. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and in that time too, I was pretty like upset about that. But now that I'm older, I understand that, like, you know, I understand that perspective, why she might feel that way. You know, during the transition, also, like, yeah, physical, my mental, my emotional, I had to work on that super hard because I had to learn how to unlearn and relearn all these different things. I had to learn how to forgive the people that hurt me during the time that, you know, I was doing this stuff. So mentally, it was like it was more of a mental, emotional transition than anything physical, you know?
So you identify as a male, right?
Yeah.
So now when someone calls you a female, how do you feel about that?
Nobody calls me a female. Like, nobody. And if they do, I've like had to really just like work really hard to like really think about what those gender pronouns really actually mean. You know what I mean? Those things are not, I don't want to call them not real because they are real for people. But for me, I'm like, gender pronouns and gender, and it's so fluid that I'm like, yeah, if someone did mistakenly call me that, I'm not going to be like, yo.
Facts. True. Very true.
What's your issue? I'm going to be like, okay, you probably just, I don't know what's your issue. Like, look at me, look at how I present myself, look at my being. If you're going to call me that, then you probably have an issue that I don't really have to take on. You know, I already know who I am, how I identify, and I strongly am in that. And I just have to get to a place where nobody else around me can call me something different, and I'll feel pretty shitty about that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Okay, so what's some challenges you think you go through as a trans black male?
As a black male in general.
As a black male in general.
There is a lot of challenges, and oftentimes I feel like there are a lot of times that I make the excuse that I'm trans, that I go through all these shit, which I do. Which I would never dismiss. But just being a black male in general, just like existing is hard. But also like just having the male privilege that I do have. I can walk in the park at dark. I can go on the streets at dark and not have to worry about somebody sexually harassing me. Although let's not miss out that this stuff does happen to males as well. But I don't have that fear anymore. Yeah. You know, I don't ever think about that. You know what I mean? I don't ever have to think about things that my partner would think about. You know what I mean? Before actually being on hormones, I didn't consider myself a part of the LGBT community at all.
Wow.
I was just in the bracket.
Okay.
I met this amazing person at school. They were a part of the LGBT community. A lot of people used to. I was an athlete. I was just in the athlete community at school, and this person, a lot of people would just like make fun of them, just because they were gay or however they perceived that person. I guess it was just one time I just connected with them. They were so nice. They were talking to me about wanting to transition, and I just like heard them out. I was like, yo, shit, like this is something that I might want to do. And so like they connected me to the right doctors and stuff like that, and I talked about it. And
so you never dated women before you transitioned?
No, I dated women before, but when I have dated women before, they didn't know about me. So I was very like DL. I was very closeted. You know what I mean? But a lot of my closest friendships and my relationships that I've had to tell those people, which was really hard. And we've like, you know, it came to a place where we took some space from each other for maybe like a month or so, and then we got back to it and be like, yo, like I love you, we love each other, we're good friends, like I respect what you're doing.
So tell me about have you been through anything like rough times like that? Like you told somebody and they didn't want to be with you anymore or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you tell people and people fucking hate it. You know what I mean? Like people hate what they don't understand.
What's some crazy stuff you've heard? Tell me some shit right now.
Craziest stuff I heard, to be honest, not much, yo. And even if I did hear that, like I've chose to like remove that. Yeah. Because there's no point of keeping that negativity inside. I took what I needed to do with that negativity. I pushed myself beyond my limits, and I've just am more happier that they aren't around. Because once you're in a different body, you have to get used to who you are. Like you have to like, you know, once you're in this body, it's like shit. Like I want to experience a one night stand. Maybe I want to experience a threesome. Maybe I want to do all this shit in this body that I have to learn how to, you know, engage with people now in the body that I am. But it also is very hard too, because now that I'm passing, like I feel like there is
What's this term passing? I'm not too familiar.
just passing where you're read in society as male.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Now that I pass physically, when I do go to certain parties, that I feel like I kind of get that vibe of people are like, oh, why is this guy here? Like, what is he doing here? You know, I feel like I have to have this like sign that I'm like, yo, I'm trans. Like, this is my space too. You know,
wow, that's crazy. All right, what's some things you think people misunderstand about the trans community?
This is only going to be my perspective because I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
I think a lot of cis people, when they think of trans, they think of trans women. The you know what I mean? Like when you talk about trans, I feel like people just instantly just attack trans women. And you're like, yo, like trans is so fluid. It looks so different that there is just not one look. And like, yeah, like people, if they know, like they find out that I'm trans, they're like, holy shit, I wouldn't have even been able to tell. I'm like, no one would. You know what I mean? But that is like
true.
people's perspective of trans needs to look and be a certain way, where it's like, yo, we exist and we're around you guys all the time. You guys just don't know.
That's crazy.
And there's a lot of situations, and I talk about this with my best friend as well, is that like we would be in certain places and like people would talk so much shit about like trans or anybody.
Oh wow!
And they won't know that
You're
that's
trans.
who you are, and you're like,
that's crazy. So have you ever been around like people talking shit about trans people?
hell
You're
yeah,
like,
all the time.
how do you react to that?
Or you're around like cis dudes that like will like talk shit about women. You're like, shit, like what do I say? Like, do I call this out or do I not call this out? I feel
that's
like
crazy.
that's the hardest thing too. Like, where do I fall in that? Like, how do I like go through with that? Should I call that person out? Is that worth it? Not saying that it's not worth it, but like, I don't really know what that interaction afterwards will look like. Am I prepared for that? You know what I mean? Like, that's always like the thing with me. It's like, shit, there's times that I do call people and a lot of people are receptive to it, but there are people who are just like not about it, you know, and it puts me in a place where I might feel like, is my safety now?
Yeah, feeling attacked. Yep.
Is my safety a thing now? Like, do I have to worry about myself now? You know, so that's like the hardest part that I feel like is like in what I say and how I live. If I do choose to be out, if I do choose to live my life loud as a trans person, will my safety as a black male be attacked? Specifically, black males. Black, not even black trans men, sorry, like just black trans bodies in general. You know, like, how's our safety going to be like? You know, we hear a lot about on the news and things like that where a lot of trans men, a lot of trans women are just being attacked for just who they are. If I do choose to be this way, if I do choose to live out loud like this, like, what would my future look like? Will I be good? And I feel like going back to the family thing, I feel like that's the most important thing for them, is that they just want their kids to be safe, you know?
Yep.
They want them to be out there and be seen as the norm, you know, and not have any troubles and not having anybody bother you, you know, and I feel like that is like a big thing too. You know, safety is a thing. So